Okay. Salutations, everyone. I'm sorry that I'm not on camera right now, um, because I'm not looking my best tonight. It's late, and I just wanted to kind of come on and just kind of give you. I'm hoping that okay. I hope you guys can hear me. Okay. I haven't did any commentary on different topics in a minute because I always like to add my little perspective, a little 2 cents on whatever I feel like is trending. Um, I usually take my little walk, so I do a couple of reaction videos here and there in between. Um, I've been so focused on doing my interviews, and I really have been um, appreciative of the people that take the time to interview with me, and I do appreciate the support that I've been getting so far. I really do appreciate all the support I've been getting. So shout out to those who have been interviewing me before. You know, I just interviewed with Erica Dinero this past Wednesday, and so that's one of the interviews that I want to respond to because she has given her review or her afterthoughts of that particular interview. So, and I've been getting a lot of feedback in the comments, which I do appreciate so much because that's what I've been wanting for a while now is the feedback and the dialogue. So I'm going to address that in a minute. Shout out to Silk White, who I had the pleasure of interviewing with, as well as Kenneth Tukes. And let's see who else. And Nelson J. Davis. Like, shout out to those that I've done. Those are the interviews that I've done within the last couple of weeks. So I do appreciate them having them on. Please make sure that you watch um, those interviews as well. Um, I just been hearing a lot of different topics, a lot of different things that's been going on. I mean, I'm glad they let the whole dress thing go. Um, when it came to Pastor Bryant's wife, that's died down, but it's been a lot that's been said about that. And I think that your dress was nice? Yeah, it was nice. Do I understand some of the people's position as in regard to her being the first lady and wearing that type of dress to any type of function? Do I understand their position? Yes. Now, do I personally think it's appropriate? Not really. But again, did it deserve as much backlash as it has been given? No, I don't think so. But I'm just glad that it's died down, and you know, we don't got to discuss that further. Let's see what else. I been hearing, like this back and forth between the two, Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels. Anton Daniels was a guest on Corey Holcomb's 5150 show, and make sure you check both their content out. That has been the trending topic for a minute because when Anton Daniels came on, there was debating back and forth and how Corey Holcomb felt like Anton Daniels, his platform is used to hold more black people accountable than whites. And Corey Holcomb says something to the effect of um, Anton Daniels kissing white ass. And so Antoine rebutted with saying that, you suck the peen of certain blacks. And so that triggered Corey Holcomb into getting up in Antoine's face, and they was all at each other and just going back and forth. And, it was just, both of them, like, I think they're like two sides of the same coin. So I think that was even more triggering for them. But it just gotten out of hand to the point where now it's like Corey Holcomb is had doxed his Antoine's daughter, and put her out there, put her image out there, which is very inappropriate. I think that if you're going to keep it between your two grown men, keep it between two grown men. Don't bring any children into it. So I think that Antoine threatened to sue. So I don't know, if that's going to if that lawsuit is going to happen or not. But I know that's something that Antoine has talked about doing, and I just feel like, I know that both Corey Holcomb and Antoine Daniels, they both are controversial public figures, and yeah. So, but I think that a lot of people were coming at Antoine about the whole sucking peeing comment, um, and Corey Holcomb challenging him to say it again, which he didn't. He got, Antoine, kind of challenged him to go outside to fight, but he didn't mention that whole peen thing again. But I think that was in response to Corey Holcomb saying about kissing the ass of white folks. So I think that's what, hey, that was his response to Corey's comment at that time. So I think, that was a trending topic. Um, I mean, so I think it was just so much that's going on, so much goes on, and it's so funny how, like, when I go through social media and I listen to uh, different videos, I listen to different posts or different commentary and what's trending. It's so hard to remember everything. So by the time I get on my platform, I draw a blank. So it's like I just have so much, and so much that goes on. But when it comes to discussing them, on my own platform, yeah, it's hard for me to remember it all. But I just wanted to just give a little content in between because even though I've been getting some great interviews, I don't have anything scheduled right now. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I could book some interviews, and I'm hoping that I could be able to have some repeat guests come on as well because I've been as the YouTube space, I've been on. I had my platform since May actually. Since last May, if I think about it, that's when I started to kind of introduce myself and try to get a feel of what I'm going to put out there. But I started doing interviews around November of 2025, and ever since then, I've had again a variety of different people that came on, and I've been consistent with that, and I had no repeat visitors yet. So that's a blessing in itself to be able to bring people on my platform and have such great interviews and such great discussions. And so I do appreciate that. Like I said, it doesn't go unnoticed, and nor is it taken for granted. Um, so yeah, since I just want to come on, so like I said, I wanted to do some other commentary in between time. Um, but yeah, so I'm still trying to let me see if I can kind of draw, because I'm still drawing up a blank as far as other trending topics that is worthy of my putting my perspective on. So yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. Um, but like I said, I probably won't figure that out until after I log off. So yeah, and if it happens, I'll just come back on. If I decide to click my button and I decide to speak on something else, I'll just do it that way. No biggie, right? Um, yeah. But I just wanted to kind of give my response to my interview with Erica Dinero TV. Please make sure you subscribe to her. Um, and it's been some quite a bit of feedback. And like I said, I do appreciate the feedback. But I got the most feedback um, from her interview out of every other interview that I've done so far. So I do appreciate that. And most of the feedback has been great. It was a great interview, and I did have a good vibe with her. And there was a lot of people in the comments that had, good feedback, and there's some that had some critiques, and I get it. I do understand that, and that's fine because again, I welcome that. But also at the same time, I said, well, let me go on my platform and give, you know, um, a response to her response to the interview. And like I echo her sentiments in regards to it being a great interview. We both had a good time, but there were some things that were kind of triggering or upsetting. So I just wanted to kind of address a couple of things. For one, as far as her is implying that I have a level of uncomfortability when it comes to her choosing to remain single and choosing herself instead of losing herself in a relationship with someone. That didn't feel. I wasn't uncomfortable at all. I'm sorry if you had that perception. I just said that there's nothing wrong with compatibility, but I'm not brainwashed into the idea of thinking that being with someone, it equates to self fulfillment, or that I'm caught up in the psyche of having to be with someone in order to feel complete. No, 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 no. That's not what I was implying. I was just saying that there's nothing wrong with dating. I said, and I made that clear that just because you date someone, or just because you test the waters out, or you have companionship, I said that, God doesn't condemn that, because I know that she said that she's, serious about her walk with God, and she's focusing on other things, and focusing on more on being in tune with herself. And I respect that wholeheartedly. I'm just saying that there's nothing wrong with having companionship, and having fun and vibing with someone. But do I think that that has to be the end all? No. If that's something that you decide to do, because, I'm single myself. I've been single for quite some time now, for many years. And, been, I've been okay. I'm good. So, now do I want companionship? Yes. Now, do I believe that having companionship and being in a relationship with someone defines who I am, or that makes me feel complete? No. So, I just wanted to clear that up. I was just saying that, I just don't, want anyone to feel like, you have a companionship, or being with someone is it's not something that you have to um avoid, or it's not something that it's not something that can, it doesn't have to be something that can negatively impact your life at all. In just the same way as being single and choosing yourself, I would never condemn anyone for choosing themselves, or knowing their self worth. That's not something that I would condemn from anyone. Also, when because I know she said that, she mentioned about us having a conversation backstage after our interview. And I was curious, and I asked that, did she dip into the lady pond at some point? It was just conversation. I didn't mean to offend, but I didn't outright ask if she was a lesbian. I did not ask if you was a lesbian. I asked, did you dip into the lady pond? Just because you've had experience certain things doesn't necessarily mean that you're labeled as such. I didn't, my intentions were not to label you as a lesbian. I just, was curious as to whether or not you dipped to Lady Pond. There's people that ask me that question, and I wasn't offended at all. I said, no, I didn't. I never explored it. I never, I never will, you know, um, explore the idea of being intimate with a woman. Have I been attracted to a woman before? Yes. Have I fantasized about being with a woman at some point in my life? Yes. But would I ever make that a reality? Absolutely not. You see, but I never labeled you as a lesbian, nor did I attach it to your position in regards to you wanting to, maintain a solo path. One did not have anything to do with the other. So I just want to clear that up as well. My asking you that was just out of curiosity. It was just making conversation. It wasn't like I was attaching that to. I'm not saying because you choose to remain single, that must mean you're a lesbian. Like, give me a little bit more. Give me a little bit more credit now. I am not. Oh God, I don't have a one track mind like that. So I just want to clear that up. And in regards to the pictures, okay. Um, the last thing I want to do is to cross or any boundaries or overstep any boundaries in any way. And the last thing I want to do is trigger anyone or offend anyone, because normally what I do is, when after I do my interviews, like 1 or 2 days later, I chop them up into clips, so they can kind of draw more attention to the full interviews, and also kind of highlight um, some of the um, some of the things we talked about that stood out to me. And so I use um, a couple of pictures, a couple of childhood pictures that were public. I mean, I know she had contacted me and said that that she felt uncomfortable with my using a couple of those pictures without her consent, and I do apologize for that because, like I said, it wasn't my intention to be disrespectful in any way. It wasn't my intention to cross that boundary with because I've done that with other guests that I've had. When I clip certain videos, I look through social medias, and if it's posted publicly, I didn't think it would be an issue because you said they were personal for you. Like you said that, you posted certain pictures on your Instagram. That's more of like a collage or like a photo album of your own personal memories. And I get that and I respect it. But if I felt like if it's public, but it's still on a public platform and it's not privated. So I didn't think it was an issue with me using those particular photos. But she respectfully asked me to remove them, and I did. No problem at all. I totally get it when she explained it to me, and she felt like she wanted to protect those memories of herself. I get it, but it was never my intention to overstep. It wasn't my intentions to make you feel uncomfortable in any way, Erica. So I just wanted to clear that up as well. But like I said, if you look at my channel and look at my platform, um, you will see that I use, various types of photos and to help the thumbnail stand out so I can bring more traffic to those particular videos. And also the infamous "Why do you hate men?" question. Okay, and I intentionally framed that question in that way. It wasn't to trigger anyone because I know that was something that stood out to a lot of the people that commented. Um, because like I said, I've been following Erica Dinero for some time now, and I obviously enjoy her content. I honestly enjoy her perspective because she gives a unique perspective on certain things. But there's certain things that I may not agree with, and that's fine, and it's respectful. Um, so when I ask that question in that way, and I know people may think I'm backpedaling when I say this, but I'm not. I didn't actually think that Erica hated men per se. I was just adding some spice to it and a little bit of controversy to kind of make people to, like I said, make people talk about it. So I asked that question because just by the way, a lot of Erica's content is based off of women's empowerment and how women needs to be more, um, how should I say, they need to be more aware of their true selves and not allow themselves to be um, dormant or allow themselves to be subject to the devaluing that a lot of men tend to impose on women. So I understand a lot of where she be coming from in certain aspects, but I also feel like um she has more she holds men more accountable than women. I think that there's some accountability factors that a lot of women, and I'm not speaking to anybody in particular. I'm just saying a lot of women, they have a difficult time holding themselves accountable um for certain things. And so a lot of times they, she puts more scrutiny on men than women. And I hear a lot of empowerment towards women, but I don't hear a lot of um, positive encouragement towards the men. And so when she explained how she doesn't like the the societal programming of, that gives men the authority or the entitlement or the authority to feel like they can mistreat women or um, towards women a certain way. So I understood where she was coming from with that because I think there are times, like I said, there are times in my perception of some of her commentary about certain men, um, it seemed like it's less empowering. She has, like I said, it's less empowering towards men than women. So I just framed the question in that way to kind of, like I said, just kind of add that little spark. But I never actually felt that that she hated men overall, So, but that was a question that I framed on purpose to kind of, invoke that conversation. So I appreciate how she responded. And I didn't get the perception that she was offended by it. I thought my perception was that my perception was that Erica understood, you know, the purpose of why I framed that question. So, and like I said, when we talk backstage, and she mentioned to me that, some of her best friends are men and, they have, and everything's platonic and there's, and that's all fine and good, everything's all good. All right. So I just wanted to kind of, kind of add my perspective on certain areas of the interview. And like I said, I really am glad that we are able to have this type of dialogue. We're able to have this type of discussion. Because, like I said, this is a type of discussion that I always wanted to have, and I welcome all perspectives, good, some not so good, that's fine, and I know there's some people that had certain critiques, and I appreciate that as well. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that as well, and I receive it wholeheartedly. But I just wanted to kind of clear up some things, and I also want to shout out Erica Dinero TV, and I do appreciate her taking the time to come on. And I really still hope that she comes back on my platform so we could discuss other topics. I mentioned that I wanted to her to return to talk about her spiritual journey a little bit more, and because I want to kind of be open to that as well, because I always want to make sure that I maintain respect for those who have certain spiritual beliefs, and so I want to dive into that a little bit more if she's still open to that. And but I do appreciate that interview, because like I said, there's gonna be some interviews it's gonna trigger some folks. There's some that gonna enjoy it. There's certain areas of certain interviews that it's gonna be like, oh, it's gonna have the wow factor. Some interviews that I have is gonna have the shock factor. Or certain conversations, certain panels that I might have in the future is gonna have, some unfiltered dialogue, and so yeah. So I thank her so much, and I thank you guys so much for hearing me out, and um hopefully, like I said, hopefully I will be able to book more interviews in the near future. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to come at you guys with some more content in between. Like I said, whether it's certain topics or some reaction videos, you know, anything in between. And like I said, I still welcome suggestions on what I can discuss on the platform as well. So just just look out for that. So I just wanted to kind of get my little spiel out there. I didn't, was it going to be on too long? But I hope that you check out that interview with Erica Dinero, as well as all the other interviews that I've mentioned and all the other interviews that I have on my channel as well. So again, I appreciate the support, and I appreciate all the feedback that I was given. And in the meantime,